Alright, here we go with multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Again, rational just means fractional. We're going to do a quick review on how to do that. It's pretty simple though. When you multiply two fractions together, you multiply across. Now, before you do that though, you can cancel if you want, but we'll put it together first. So we have 4x and then y to the fourth. If you multiply across, multiply the y by y cubed. And then on the bottom we have an 8x cubed y. That's just multiplying across. They're all terms. There's no pluses or minuses, so you don't have to distribute anything. Now we simplify. 4 over 8 is the same thing as 1 over 2. So we have 1. The x on top goes away, and then one of these goes away, so it's x squared. And down here the y goes away, and this becomes a cubed. Kind of like what we were doing with the exponent chapter in chapter 6. So we have 1 y cubed over 2 x squared. And that's it. With dividing, it's the same thing, except for you have to flip the second fraction and then turn it into, then when you do that, you turn it into multiplication. When you divide fractions, it's the same thing as saying it's 24/27 times 9 over 6. We flipped it, and now it's multiplication. Now you can cancel. Never cancel when it has a division symbol, because it might not work. 9 and 27, 9 goes into 27 3 times, so that becomes a 1 and a 3. And for 6 and 24, that's a 4, that's a 1. So when you multiply across, you get 4 over 3. And that's it. So when you're multiplying and dividing, most of the time what you're doing actually is factoring and canceling. But you are technically multiplying and dividing, but we are canceling things out. So let's look at multiply. Again, we need to factor this completely before we can go further. So the first step is we have an x minus 7 and an x plus 7 over, when you factor that, that should just be what, 7 and 1 plus 7, x minus 7, or x minus 1, times, factor this, again, GCF, we could take a 6x out, always take out the GCF, and then we're left with x minus 3 over. Now, I want to talk about this. 3 minus x and x minus 3 do not cancel. They are different terms. In order to make them match, you always want the x to be positive. In order to make the x positive, we have to pull out a negative 1. So if I pull out a negative 1, that will flip this to now be this, because now the 3 became negative, the x became positive. Now we can cancel things out. What cancels? The plus 7s, the minus 3s. So my final answer is 6x times x minus 7 over negative 1 times x minus 1. And that is all I require, factored form. If you want, you can move the negative instead of on the bottom. You could put it on the top or in front, but there should just be one negative sign. If you don't have it, it's wrong. Okay, division. Division, we flip it and multiply. So I'm going to flip this and turn it into multiplication. But again, this is all factoring. So if you're good at factoring, you should be good at this chapter. And if you're not, practice, practice, practice. We'll get you there. The top factors to be x plus 8 and x minus 4. The bottom is one of our friends from before. X cubed plus 8. That's our x plus 2. X squared minus 2x plus 4. And then over here, I'm already flipping it. So this is now the top, this piece. When I factor the 6, what is it, 2 and 3? Yeah. So it's x plus 3 and x plus 2 over, when I factor the bottom, I get an x plus 3 and an x minus 4. Okay, now look across what cancels. We have an x minus 4 on the bottom, we have an x minus 4 on the top, we have an x plus 2 on the top, x plus 2 on the bottom, x plus 3 on the top, x plus 3 on the bottom. So my final answer, once this is all simplified, is x plus 8 over x squared minus 2x plus 4. And that's it. Pretty easy. Again, the hardest thing is multiplying / dividing and factoring. Oh, this one looks kind of fun. Notice how it's multiplication and division. So, the same thing. Multiply, multiply, divide. You flip this and multiply. So I'm going to start factoring, and I'm going to flip and multiply this. So, I can pull out an 8x on top, and I get x squared plus y squared. I can pull out a -1 on bottom, so x is first, so it makes it easier to factor. And I get x squared minus y squared. On this one here, this is you have to recognize this. This is a perfect square trinomial. X is being squared, y is being squared. There's a minus in between. So this would be x minus y quantity squared. That's different than this one down here. Over, we can do difference of squares. So we get x squared plus y squared, x squared minus y squared. And then over here, we get multiply, and now I'm going to factor the bottom because now this is the top. I can take a 15x and a y cubed out. And I'm left with one more x plus one more y over, if I factor the bottom, there's really nothing to factor. It's 24 x squared y. Alright, now we look at this, and we almost... Are there things that I can cancel right away? First things first, we could probably factor the difference of squares once. So, let's cancel what we can first. Makes it easier. On top, I have an x squared plus y squared. I have a bottom x squared plus y squared. Let's just get rid of those forever. On the top, I have an x and an x. I have these two x's, and I have x squared on the bottom. So I can cancel out this x squared with this one x and this one x. So they're gone. What else do I have? I have this 8 and this 24. 8 over 24 is the same thing as a 1 over 3. And then I can actually cancel out the 15 and the 3 and make it a 5 over 1. So this is actually a 5 over 1. And finally, I can cancel out this y on bottom and make this a y squared. Alright, I'm going to rewrite this now with factored form of the bottom. So I have a nothing on top here. I have a 1 over -1, and now I can factor this. X plus y, x minus y, times x minus y, and I'm going to rewrite this as x minus y times x minus y to see how many I have. This becomes x plus y, x minus y, times 5y squared x plus y over 1. Alright, so now I can see what I can cancel more. I'm going to cancel out the x plus y's here and here. I'm going to cancel out an x minus y here with this one. I'm going to cancel out an x minus y here with this one. Okay? And when we are left with, we have our negative, don't forget that -1 on the bottom. So, my final answer for this problem is, on top I'm left with 1 5y squared, so 5y squared, over -1 times, and then the only thing that's left is an x plus y. So that's quite the problem there. But it's good because it lets you take your time, practice, keep factoring, take things out, and that's it. That's all it is for multiplying and dividing fractions.